Welcome back to the channel. Before we begin today, I just wanted to give a quick thank you. I'm almost up to 1,000 views on the channel, so thanks to everybody who's liked and watched and subscribed over the past couple months. Means a lot to me. So for today's video, if you've watched my channel previously, you may have seen I'm working on a Third Anglo-Afghan War project. In the past, I did one video on my British forces. I think I have enough now on the Afghan side to do an update video. So if you're not aware, the Third Anglo-Afghan War was a war between the British Empire and Afghanistan. It was a short-lived war, only May to August of 1919. So the Afghan army, I don't really have squads per se, so I'm just going to do sort of two broad categories, the melee units and then the shooting units. The army so far is Parries, both metals and plastics, and then Empress miniatures. So this here is the melee units, mostly Parry metals. These are great figures. One thing is they take a long time to paint up because there's no uniform for tribals. It's almost like each one is like a character in terms of terms and time of painting them. You really have to think up a unique color scheme for each individual person. I tried not to repeat color schemes as best as I could for each person. So for how I painted them up, of course I looked at how the Parries painted them up in their examples, and then I did some research. I looked at illustrated plates from the mid to late 1800s, and then I also looked at photographs. My understanding is that traditional male dress in Afghanistan has not changed dramatically in the last 100+ years. So I also looked at photographs of like Mujahideen fighters from the Soviet-Afghan War, and more recently Taliban fighters, just more to see what colors they're wearing, and it still holds true. From what I read, late 1800s, early 1900s, colors like white, beige, light brown, light gray, light blue were very common. It still holds true from the photos I've seen today. But even in illustrated plates from the late 1800s, they did have some pretty bright colors. So I tried to incorporate those. Not too much, but enough to give the figure some interest when you're looking at them on the table. Actually, I didn't have a whole lot of bright colors, because I mainly paint World War II. So I had to go down to the local shop and get some bright colors. This guy here is meant to be like the tribal leader, the warlord. So I gave him this purple cloak. I'm not claiming all these colors are 100% historically accurate, but I tried to stay, not too crazy with the bright colors. Oop. And then we have I got two standard bearers. One here. So the standards. This one is from Parry's, the plastic box. The instruction sheet has a couple of standards on the box, or on the back of the instruction sheet. That's really the only place I can find standards. Not too many people make them, I think for good reason, because there are scant few photographs of tribal standards, very few illustrations. Most of the descriptions come from British soldiers' descriptions, like in their journals from the Second Afghan War. So this guy here, I didn't even give him one yet. I'm not a huge fan of the Parry ones, mainly the material. If anyone's had a Parry instruction sheet, it's that glossy, thick paper. So I may try my hand at making my own. The standards, the tribal standards, they're more or less all this triangular shape, and then they're solid color or with stripes. Sometimes they have writing on them. But black, you can't really go wrong with the black standard if you have an Islamic army. That tradition dates back all the way back to Muhammad. He would carry a black standard on his military campaigns, and then that still holds true today. Various militias and terror groups still fly the black flag. Even Afghanistan, uh, at several points throughout their history, they've had an all black flag or a mostly black flag as their national flag. So these are great figures. Um, and so these are all the melee units, and then I got more shooting units. So I'll take a look at those now. Yes, and I do have one weapons team. This is from Empress Miniatures, the Jazz Age Imperialism range. This is a Maxim gun team. This was the model that really got me interested in this range. This sort of New World meets Old World look. I think this is really cool model. That's the only weapon team I have for more. Definitely want to get more. Empress also makes a mortar team. So yeah, really great model. Okay, now we'll take a look at the shooting units. Okay, here are all the shooting units in the army so far. Now, this may seem like a lot of black powder units. These here are all muskets and jezails. This may seem like a lot of black powder for 1919. My thinking was, being tribals, they may not have as great of access to modern rifles. I was doing some research online, and there was some documentation of somewhat widespread use of black powder weapons, even in the early years of the Soviet-Afghan War. This is sort of pre-Operation Cyclone, when the CIA started moving the good stuff into Afghanistan. So I figured in 1919 there would still be plenty floating around. Again, these are some great sculpts by Perry here. Like this guy here, I really like this sculpt here. Beckoning the soldiers forward. We have this one here. This is a Perry plastic. Again, I tried to give some color, give some excitement to the table. Mainly with like the sashes around their belts. Just to give a pop of color. You have some here with shields on their back. I was looking at some examples of shields, like in museums. Some of them appear to be, I don't know if this is lacquer or forge blackening. They were black shields with accents on them, so I tried to do some of those. And then for Empress makes these with Lee Enfields. So this would be more of a quote-unquote modern-looking tribesman. So I got one pack of these. So that's gonna give a great variety to the army. So this is the Afghan army so far. I think next steps, I definitely need more of the Lee Enfield equipped soldiers. For being 1919, I think they would have captured more. And I don't have a rule set yet, so I definitely need to start looking into rule sets for the Third Anglo-Afghan War, and it's definitely a niche war. I should probably start with the men who would be kings and go from there. And broadly for the project, I definitely need more British forces. I really have only a squad or two of those. Definitely more Empress, and also I want more Commonwealth soldiers, as there were a number of Indian and Gurkha units involved in the war. So this is where the project stands for now. Going to keep at it with this, and then also keep moving with some other projects. So that's it for me. Throw on a like and a subscribe if you'd like, and I'll see everybody soon. Thanks.